Ladies and gentlemen, I am Lee Demon Smith, and here with me is, of course, Trevor Quickshot Henry. We're now on the analysis desk, and of course, joining us from Evil Geniuses is Crepo. Scumbag Crepo, some would say.
Scumbag Crepo, indeed.
It's, you said it yourself, in fact. It's because you jack all those kills.
NCS.
NCS, of course.
I moved on. I'm no longer doing the kills. I just found out it's way more efficient to sneak in a few minion creep kills once in a while.
I did notice. I'm trying to think what game it was. Was it against SK where you had about 40 CS you did at one point?
Yeah, because but to be fair, that was actually good because I froze that lane alone. Well, P had to base, and I was like, well, I'll pick up this one. I don't mind.
We kept talking about the CS differences, and we're like, oh, that's where it is. It's in Crepo's back pocket.
Always look at the support as well, because you have them sneaky supports that steal some CS.
Yeah, so I know Edward tends to do a lot themselves. So we have a couple of questions, of course. They've come in from Twitter. So we'll start off with the first one. It's from Dustin Towers. And the question is there another support in the League of Legends Championship Series, either here in the EU or North America, that you look up to and watch closely?
I wouldn't say look up, but they're colleagues of mine, and definitely I have respect for some of them. Like, I don't know everything about supporting there is. Sometimes I get caught off guard. Like the door and shield build, I don't know who got it to me. I think it was Edward as well again.
He did it in Katowice, didn't he?
Very innovative, and I was like, well, the dude's right. Like the math, I did the math, and I was like, why not? And it's really, really good. I think at the moment, like Philo Stone, door and shield is such a good combo, and I'm glad I picked that up. I also talked to Enrated a lot from Fnatic.
Yeah.
We just discussed supports.
I know you guys like to. You're quite vocal, I think.
Yeah, he has a little. Everybody wants to be right, and he has a little different approach to laning than I do. But if I can learn, I can learn. And then, of course, Choster in NA.
How much of a difference will the composition of your team affect all the theory crafting and the building and things like that? Your team, your enemy team, does it make a big difference?
I think building supports are pretty straightforward. It's either like, do I go for the Locket? Is my jungler getting Aegis? Do I want to get Aegis? You're limited because you don't have too much gold, but you definitely base your item builds on what you're facing. Definitely something interesting is that sometimes people say, yeah, why don't you get the Sightstone? And while it's very, very gold efficient, it might actually not need it. You might want to trade that Sightstone like efficiency long term for some short term like investment into like a really strong item. Say I go to the lane with a door and shield and a ruby crystal. I don't have it, and I buy one ward and I sacrifice the GP10. But then I'm so tanky that if I go all in and I get a kill, that's worth more than all the gold in the next 20 minutes. So it's all, you have to plan ahead. What am I going to do with it? If I'm going to play a passive lane, I'm not even going to get hit. Sure, I'll build Philo Stone. I don't mind Sightstone. I'll just save my gold and I'll build something crazy later.
Just sit back and farm it up, yeah. Well, or you're going to go aggressive, which obviously Edward is definitely an aggressive support. We've got a second question. It is from Fanchian Betiel. That's not quite so easy for me to say. But what is the most important thing? I'm assuming that's meant to be thing for a support. And what are the best champions for support in Season 3?
Well, actually, that guy's actually way ahead of himself because the most important thing about support is thinking. Because
see what you did there.
Smart Twitter followers.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you're not doing much in a lane, let's face it. Most of the time you're sitting in a brush doing nothing. So what do? You think about the game. You look around, like you browse the map, you see what are our options. What gang paths is their jungler doing? Because you can analyze that. But just because you don't see him, doesn't mean you don't know where he is, and you can help your teammates out as well.
Well, you just mentioned that now, and talking about analyzing the game, looking at the matchup. How much importance is there on you when it comes to timing? Do you keep track of abilities? Last time people were seen, is that on Snoopy? How does it work out with Evil Geniuses?
Both me and Snoopy do the bulk, say 95% of the timings. Froggen will just call out enemy mid laner got blue buff. I'll time it for him. Doesn't matter. Like he doesn't have to be sitting there typing those numbers. I can do that. And yeah, basically we're talking the most. I'm not playing that much. Like I'm not doing that much. So I have room to talk and communicate, and that's what I'm doing. Me and Snoopy, we lead the conversation, and then we go for input. I'm like, Wiki, do you need a gank? Can you lane swap? Do you want to lane swap? Can you come down for dragon? Or if I don't know what to do, I'll just open my chat and I look at all the timers and I'm like, let's see, the coming 2 minutes, those 3 buffs are gonna spawn. What path do we need to take? Can we take them? Should we take them, or should we push mid or the other part of the map when they go for the blue buff? Stuff like that. And if I really don't know what to do, I'll be like, guys, what's the plan? Talk to me.
Yeah, and you mentioned Chowster actually. Do you feel that say the support players and junglers, they share a same type of game knowledge? They have to, the map awareness, the timers, everything.
We're way more global. Like top lane is that the isolated island
because they're focused. Yeah.
Mid lane, he doesn't have time. Like sometimes they don't have time to look at the minimap. Sometimes I'm like, dude, you're getting ganked. He's like, oh right, thanks for that one. Same for me though. So if I'm going focused on a Leona play and I'm tunneled on going in, and Soapy calls, dude, back off because the guy's coming around you, like probably has to say it 2 or 3 times, sometimes more.
The bloodlust sets in.
Tunnel vision. So yeah, it's all about communication. And when, as a support, when you don't have that much task on your hands, doesn't mean you can't be useful for the rest of your team.
So we have a third question. It was from VoxChen. VoxChen, I think it is safe to say. What is your favorite unconventional support?
I play pretty much the standard supports at the moment. I don't know if you can call Fresh conventional or unconventional, but yeah, I like
new. I think
yeah. Innovative. I like Fresh a lot at the moment. It's probably my flavor of the month. The only unconventional support I played back in the day was Fiddlesticks. It actually was good against Nuno lanes with like a Vayne.
Right.
Because if you can fear the Vayne, it's really good. You have enough interruptions for the Nuno ulti, and yeah, and you can all in. I like that. But I always saw that because Elements played that once, so I only copied it from him. So I don't think I've innovated anything in the scene. I just picked up what other people are playing and tried to make it better. You
were a fairly early adopter for Zyra, if I recall, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Zyra I liked.
You used to go Zhonya's, didn't you?
Yeah. That's actually, again, I stole it from him and rated. He told me, he was like, dude, go AP. And I was like, no way, that's not going to work. But I talked to Pete, and I was like, yeah, if you give me a little farm early on the lane, I can get that GP10 rolling, I can still ward up, or you ward up, if he takes over the warding and I get the money, and then mid-game, I said, like, guys, I need 2 waves mid, and I finish at Zhonya's, I can just flash in, ER, they will go on me, I Zhonya's, and then say, hey guys, you're wasting all your time on a support. What are you doing?
And you've just been popped up in the air as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, is there anything else out there that you would like to play as a support, but the team won't let you? I remember like way back, a number of people were saying, I want to play Leona, but the team won't let them. Stuff like that. And now Leona is kind of an acceptable support. It's kind of like a standard support.
Super standard support. Yeah, I love Leona. Really, I love the aggressive support because it's way more fun.
It may have been you know, back at DreamHack Summer, I think, that we'll need to play Leona and the team won't let you.
It may have been me, yeah. But I think right after we used it in a tournament a few times, especially in Korea, I was like, Leona, I'll first pick it so you guys can counter pick, and we're like, fine, do it then.
And I remember the OGN finals, you landed some perfect ultimates with Leona. And I'm going to move on to the OGN finals because that was probably the biggest game for you guys, maybe. Is it safe to say, obviously, third place, maybe playoff, the semi-finals or the World Finals?
Definitely biggest game, but the entire Korean experience was so good for us. We came in there, and you had it's the same thing as we have in LCS now. You prepare weekly for a match. Like, you know which team you're going to play, and you can prepare for them. You analyze them. First 2 days, you start playing again. And then we kept track of all our scrims as well. So I just opened that file, and I find who were playing Frost, and I could saw all the picks and bans we did in every scrim. And then we analyzed that, and it really helped a lot. The time stretch of 2 months, being together in first time in that gaming house environment, playing weekly, and then still winning, was really good for us.
Now, just for interest's sake, how much do you actually watch a lot of the other leagues? I mean, you met all these teams, you interact with so many of them. Do you draw a lot of knowledge and information from watching the OGN leagues, watching these different events that are happening in the different ponds?
At the start, you do, but now there's simply too many games to follow and too many games, too many different play styles. I think if something really big happens, innovative happens, it'll be on Reddit. And I'll find it.
Well, I know you watch, obviously, the North American League Championship Series because generally we're in the same chat talking about it at the same time. Anything particular over there that you maybe has caught your eye that you think, I might give that a go?
I haven't seen anything that really stood out there. Just surprise for me. Like, why not Fresh, guys? Big Fresh.
Why not Thresh? Yeah, but they didn't get a chance to do it. But we have the next match coming up. It's the Dragonborns versus the Copenhagen Wolves. Copenhagen Wolves 0-7 right now. Dragonborns just had a tough loss, really, against Giants. They probably should have won that game, in fairness. How do you see this one going? What is there anything particularly in these teams? Because I remember coming into this game, the Copenhagen Wolves were actually, you know, a lot of people said these are actually could get top 4 easily.
Yep. Basically, there's not that much skill difference. Like, they're a really good team. They just lack the experience. You see that over and over again. Like, and in this game, one mistake mid-game, like it just completely annihilates you. Coming into the game, they play really aggressive laners. So that might be both teams actually play really aggressive early game. And they play really strong laners on the side of Wolves. And while Dragonborns have a really aggressive team roam comp, they like picking people off. So it'll be interesting to see how the Wolves deal with early aggression from Dragonborns.
So we will see how this one turns out. Of course, the commentators for me, Joe Miller and Jason Kaplan. Let's see if this is an aggressive game, guys.
Thanks a lot, Demon. I certainly hope so, though we do see that aggressive game out of them. Of course, it is going to be Dragonborns versus Copenhagen Wolves. One team already has that win on the board. Dragonborns right now, 1 win for 2 losses. On the other side, you've got Copenhagen Wolves, the whipping boys up until now in the European LCS. 0 wins, 7 losses.
Yeah, we were talking to Hosan yesterday when he was on the analysis desk mentioning, you know, no one wants to be the team to give him the first win, which is a little bit harsh, but it's a little bit true as well. And I mean, Bjergsen, he came into the roster again this last week. Did pretty well yesterday, I have to say. Yeah. But we'll see how he affects the team overall.
Well, let's have a look then at the 2 lineups and how they stand coming into this game. Of course, for Dragonborns, we have Spontex, Maluno, Shushe, Hosan, and Movert.
And over for the Wolves, Godbro in the top lane, Sven Skersen, Bjergsen, you see right there, 17 years old from last week. The Tess and Deficio are going to be in that bottom lane, so it should be a really interesting matchup.
I'm really looking forward to this one, and I said before today started that if you look at the games, you know, there's no EG versus Gambit, Fnatic versus SK lineups today, matchups today, but these games could well prove to be some of the closest that we've seen so far. Copenhagen Wolves, it goes without saying again that they're really looking forward to that first win. They're really, I guess, really starving, hungry for that first win.
Hungry as Wolves. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I talked to Deficio today. I saw him a little bit earlier, and he seemed a little upset that they haven't finally got that first win, that first break. But, you know, then again, there's also an upside to it. There's no pressure on you to really, you know, perform amazing. I mean, you can always come back, show some amazing kind of strategy and get that first win. And, you know, obviously there's 28 games in the whole season, so they obviously could be out of that bottom half, you know, 3/4 of the way through.
Well, the thing is, they've not really played that bad up until now either.
They really haven't.
So it's just a case of fine-tuning things. Now they got Bjergsen. Tess is obviously back after having a weekend off last weekend. So hopefully things have come together for them today is what I'm trying to say. But let's have a closer look then at the teams and have a look at those key players that we've picked out on both sides of things. First up here we have Dragonborns, and today it's Hosan. We had him on the analysis desk earlier on yesterday. Did a great job as well, I might add. But obviously his Draven has been heavily banned out against him. He's done brilliantly when he's been allowed to play it. Spontex in that top lane is another player who, at the live qualifiers, we saw doing extremely well. Maluno coming into the jungle, obviously was the replacement for Broken Shard, who couldn't participate, at least in the early stages of the European LCS. LCS? Wow, my words are just all over the place. So hopefully that fixes itself. Shushe in the middle, of course, he won the Season 1 championships with Fnatic. And then Move It. We definitely shouldn't leave out the support player for Hosan.
They really played an interesting kind of composition earlier, as Krepo was mentioning. It was an all-in. It's, you know, try to get onto one person, pick him off, and win that fight. It worked out for him pretty early on in the game, but, you know, as the team first started coming at him against them, Giants just kind of overpowered them.
Well, let's have a look at their opponents in this one. They're currently 0 for 7, and at the bottom of the table, of course, the Copenhagen Wolves with Godbro in the top lane, Svenskuren in the jungle, Bjergsen in that middle lane, and our key player for this one, the Tess on the AD carry, and Deficio is support. Tess, again, he had that horrible time of things last weekend where he unfortunately couldn't play. They had Kautard in there as their AD carry, but up until now, I'd say that we've not seen the best of the Tess. The qualifiers, he was amazing. He was so amazing. And hopefully he can hit that level here.
Yeah, he played a lot of Ezreal during the qualifiers, and we were really surprised because it was just spectacular. But now we're starting to see him finally branch out. He's played some Varus. He's even played, I believe, Caitlyn as well. So he's finally shown everyone else that he can play a lot of other AD champions. And Hosan, he's in the same kind of boat. You're banning out that Draven against him. You have to show something besides that one AD champion.
Well, the teams are almost ready to go. We caught up with them again, as per usual, to see what they had to say about each other.
They seem to do a lot better offline than online.
We know we are better than them. I'm sorry for them.
I want to see how it goes when they get their mid laner back.
But on team play, sometimes we just don't listen to each other, so we throw it and we lose it.
We have a tendency to be over-excited into the games and just start throwing on our own.
And when we get Bjergsen back, then we're going to be a lot stronger, and I honestly think we're going to beat them.
So two confident teams there. Spontex beating Spontex, as we've got to know him here, just saying, you know, we're just a better team. But we get a little bit overconfident, overexcited, I think is the way that Mover put it there. And also from Copenhagen Wolves side, they said, once we have Bjergsen in the lineup, we're confident that we can beat a team like Dragonborns.
Yeah, I mean, the Wolves, they haven't done bad in any sort or the sense. You know, over these past 7 games, they played an amazing early game, and they've actually had the lead in, I believe, 6 out of the 7 matches, but they just couldn't hold on to it, and hopefully they'll be working on that within the upcoming weeks, or just show us right now that, hey, guys, we are a team to mess with, and kind of, you know, shut Dragonborns up with that video.
So we're going to be kicking things off here in just a few moments. We have all 10 players in the game. You can see both teams already lined up and ready there. Spontex on the left-hand side of your screen. Very, very confident guy. I think that's a very happy Hosan as well. He's in a good mood today. Actually, I sat down and had dinner with him before we got the show started today, and Hosan said, you know, I think I'm just going to stop playing with these guys because they're annoying and come and cast with you for the rest of the tournament.
Actually, I tried to get him to go into a bet saying, you know, if you lose to this team or whatever, you're going to shave your head. But he said, you know what, I don't want to pull a Joe Miller there. I want to keep my hair.
He has got at least 3 times the amount of hair that I had, so he should definitely be thinking wisely about what he says and what he bets on. But we are into Champion Select here. Let's see what we're going to have banned out. Obviously, the bans all on the right-hand side here. Elise, first of all, banned out for Dragonborns. We have seen that already being used by Copenhagen Wolves. Vi then banned out. We saw it in the middle lane with Shushe in their last game today. Twisted Fate then taken out by Dragonborns themselves, obviously aimed at Bjergsen. And then Kale was the 4th ban, the 2nd ban overall for Copenhagen Wolves. And the 5th was Kha'Zix coming out for Dragonborns.
Well, yep, they took away 2 of the champions they played in that last game. We saw Vi in the middle with Shushe. We saw Kha'Zix top with Spontex. Worked out for them really well. They got those kills, but they just couldn't hold on to the game. And the last ban will be coming in here in a second. But Xin, obviously, as you see right there, going to be left open, which is a bit interesting, which has actually been happening a lot today, even yesterday. Zin's kind of not a targeted ban anymore. They're letting him through. Thresh was the last ban.
Well, kind of expected. He's got a 100% ban and pick rate up until now. Most of them, sadly enough for us, because I'd love to see a lot more of him have been banned. But that's the thing, you let that Xin Chao go through, he's going to get picked up straight away.
Yeah, we did see Deficio actually play an amazing Thresh yesterday against All Authority. It's so hard to say against All Authority versus against All Authority, and kept catching Nono over and over with the hook, and then they would just blow him up. But we see Shen and Lux being sat on, and I'm always kind of cautious about a Lux pick, Joe. It's because if the other team builds tanky enough, it kind of completely counters you unless you have that strong early game. But that Shen going to be locked in. And Maluno, DB, what are they going to pick up here? So we will have Maluno. Well, I was going to say in the jungle with Xin, but with that Jarvan, not necessarily sure where that will be, because Maluno was one of the... Well, he wasn't the first, but he was like the 2nd person to always run that Xin and make it really popular when he was back in Curse.
Yeah, and that Lux pick, just to kind of touch on it again, it was banned out against Bjergsen yesterday as well. So we know that Bjergsen is a very capable Lux player. We'll see how he does in this one, but it looks like Lulu going to be locked in straight away here for Dragonborns. Not really taking much time to think about that one. Jarvan still not locked in, which they may switch up in these last seconds.
But seeing that Lulu, it kind of makes you want to think that Hosan might go Caitlyn with that, because you have a really strong lane pushing presence with
Draven's still in there.
That's the thing. Draven's still open. But, you know, Lulu's not a super aggressive support. I mean, you can harass a little bit, you can get the nice slow, you can disengage really well. But someone like Tarek would be a good person with Draven, because you have that stun, you can get that damage in, you get the shred with the armor and back out. But so far, you know, that Jarvan, the flag gives you a lot of armor. We could see, well, we're not going to see Tarek come in, but Copenhagen Wolves, where are they actually going to go with here? Since Bjergsen will be most likely running the Lux mid, the test. Ezreal is still open for him if he wants to play him. He still has Varus, Caitlyn, which we've seen him play over the past couple of weeks. But I'm not 100% sure what they actually want to go with so far.
I think it's going to be that Xin in the middle lane. I think that's going to be Shushe. We've seen him really kind of favouring these bruisery champions, which is quite ironic, because when he was moved to top lane for Fnatic, he had a problem with the whole bruisers coming into this top lane, and that's when he ended up leaving the team. But now he certainly seems to be having a lot of fun with him. Let's see what Copenhagen Wolves go in for next. Still a lot open, so obviously no AD carries picked up just yet. We still have Draven in there. We still have Miss Fortune is in there, Caitlyn. So definitely options open. Ezreal, of course, not to forget him.
I wonder if we're going to see maybe Darius actually come out, because we have the Lux, so you want to burst someone down as quick as possible to catch on that light on it. Darius would be a nice follow-up with that true damage, but we see Zyra, so let's think we will have that support Zyra, which Deficio has played in the past and showed he's very competent with, and wow, Hosan instantly locking in that Varus.
Well, he obviously didn't need to think about that one, did he? Straight in there, no messing around. It's going to be Varus for Hosan, which sadly, I like to see is Draven. Always a spectacle to see. But is Varus probably going to be just as strong for him? The fact that he locked it in so quickly meant that he's definitely not having any second thoughts about that one. What will they finish off the lineup with here? Obviously, Xin, Jarvan. They could both be in the lanes in the jungle, and a Mumu there coming in, and they are going to pick that Mumu up.
Wow, I actually didn't expect that to happen at all, but I mean, we have that nice lockdown. We have the Jarvan ultimate come in right after that as well, but that is a pretty much a full AD lineup. Mumu does obviously a decent amount of magic damage, but just look at the DPSers, you're going to have a very AD-heavy team, and on Copenhagen Wolf's side, you have a very squishy team so far with the Lux, the Zyra, and the Caitlyn, so it's going to kind of show that, you know, Dragonborns goes for hard engage or something like that. Wolves really won't be able to stand up against it, but a Cho'Gath being sat on, and, well, I'm assuming that would most likely be in the jungle.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think so. That we'll see Svenskeren with that Cho'Gath up until now. So let's see how these switches go. See who's going to be playing what and where they're going to be playing it. And it looks like it could actually be that Jarvan in the middle lane for Xuexi as they switch over to that.
I'm always cautious with Dragonborns, though. They seem to always like to change last second.
Could probably just pull a Mumu in the middle, you know.
It could happen.
Well, that was the comment from Hosan yesterday that Xuexi doesn't need the champion to be strong. He just needs to enjoy playing it, and then he just says, "Well, I'm going to play it." Even to the point where, you know, they'll pick champions because they're strong, and then say, "Well, who's actually going to play it?" Because we didn't really factor in, you know, where he's going to be and where he's going to go for that
versus
one.
EG?
That was a Jace pick.
They're like,
yes.
"Hey, we would take that away from Froggen, but who's actually going to play it?"
Bit of a strange one, that one, but, you know, however it goes. On the other side, it will be Shen top lane, Cho'Gath in the jungle, obviously Lux in the middle lane, and the Caitlyn Zyra in the bottom there. You can see closest to your screen, move it. Not quite got the same hand-warming strategy of the shaky hands of Xuexi that we saw from earlier on. There is Bjergsen, looking a bit nervous to my trained eye, you know, good at picking out nervous people. He doesn't look super confident there in the middle, I have to say.
Well, I mean, that could always be misleading. I mean, we saw what DreamHack did a really good job during there, but, you know, it's also a different game because you're 0-7. You want to win that first game, and it can be a lot of pressure depending on how you take it. That's the
thing that you said. There's the shaky hand of Xuexi to warm himself up. But you said there's no pressure on them at 0-7. I'd actually say it's completely the opposite way. For,
yeah, that's a good point.
You know, Copenhagen Wolves have won themselves a lot of fans, actually, even though they're heavily at the bottom of the table. You know, no one really close to him in terms of those statistics. But Bjergsen, everyone's been saying, all right, Bjergsen's coming back in week 3. Bjergsen. The kid just turned 17. That is a lot of pressure on him coming into this game. Interested to see how he handles it. This time around, of course, their first game with him didn't really go to plan, and they are searching for their first win here. So, level 1, Jason. Are we going to see any action? Do you think it's likely?
If it's going to happen, I have to say it's going to come out of Copenhagen Wolves just because you have the potential for the taunt, potential for the knock-up, the snare out of Lux as well, and then even Deficia with one on top of that. So they have a lot of control. They don't have an insane amount of damage, but the control is always a major factor. And over on Dragonborn's side, and depending on, you know, what Melina would actually level up, because if they do go for an engage, it's really going to mess up in the jungle. I think it's just going to set them too far behind, so I think just going to play passive, just secure their buffs. As I do see that first ward going down over for DB. Really want to prevent any kind of blue invade, because a Moon without that blue is going to be a little bit slower and have a little bit of a harder time.
See, he's put that really close to the wall there, which, you know, it's only a couple of units if he'd have put it in the other corner, but still would have given more vision overall if he'd got... I mean, they were already around that corner anyway. Either way, Copenhagen Wolves right now in that brush at the top of the river of Svenskeren, just having a little bit of fun. But they're going to be at least 4 men there. Shen is on the other side of their jungle, on that bottom side by the blue. They've got a defensive ward in there. There are 3 wards down already for Dragonborns. 1 top side, 1 bottom side of the river, and 1 in that bottom tri-bush. And we can see that Copenhagen Wolves here, 135 in the game, have hit the go button and are headed down towards this blue buff. The question is, will they be able to catch anyone out from Dragonborns? We're waiting for them here, and Spontex is going to walk straight in. Here we go, the binding lands, the knock-up lands, Spontex is going to go down. First blood coming in for Zyra on for Copenhagen Wolves.
Such a well-played job right there by Copenhagen Wolves, coming in through that top side, which, you know, Krep was pointing out, that seems to be the open spot that people aren't noticing anymore. They can just come in through there for that late invade, secure a kill or 2 because you're usually at your wolves, but it's forcing Luna to go for that red, denying him a lot of quick, clear potential. That's really hard to say. And then Copenhagen Wolves on top of it, they warded their own blue, so they know if Luna's going to go for that to try to steal it away. And Joe, just take a look at the lane so far. We do have a lane switch for the Wolves, sending their AD carry and support into the top lane versus Xin. And then we have Hosan at the bottom versus Shen. Lulu actually going to be roaming around for a little bit, so Mover trying to help out into these other lanes.
Yeah, Lulu's going to be helping here to try and get that blue buff back, but they need to be real careful because Cho'Gath is coming down, and he's done that blue buff, obviously smiteless in the end. They know that they weren't coming around. They spot Mover's position as him and Maluno start things off. So let's see exactly what Cho'Gath can do. Mover, crucially, wasn't stood in the brush. Actually will change that as we are going to see the Rupture come down, and he is smited away there by Maluno, and Dragonborns get the blue buff back.
And we kind of have to say that Wolves kind of gave that blue completely away because they had that lane swap. They were pretty much conceding their damage to conceding their damage to put it in the top and allow that blue buff to be stolen away. God, we're obviously not going to be doing too much against that. It's a nice potential steal out of Sven Skarson, but obviously didn't work out in the end. And Joe, just taking a look at lanes in terms of where the action is going to go down, I really have to say it's the mid lane because you have Jarvan, who hurts so much with his passive, with just his damage in general, versus a very squishy Lux.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, up until level 6, I mean, you've got the flag combo and what have you, which Bjergsen is going to have to be very careful of. But up until level 6, I think that Bjergsen should be able to control Xuxe. The problem is when they set up these ganks, when this Amumu can get in there, that could be some real problems. We see Godbro here in that bottom lane already taking a little bit of damage from that Lulu Varus combo, which, Hosan opting to go for this time instead of that Draven, which kind of surprised me because he is so confident on that Draven, and a lot of teams struggle, I think, still to really know how to play against a Draven. I think that's half of the problem.
Well, yeah, I mean, but we were also talking with them on the analysis yesterday, and I mean, his Draven, yes, very strong, but he mentioned Varus when he saw him that his Q, the potential not to do damage, is so high that he can really dominate your lane, which he is currently leveling up first. Instead of the hail of arrows, his E, to get that harass, he's just going for that pure damage out of the piercing arrow. And the top lane is just seeing right now, that turret very low, and I'm kind of surprised to not see an early gank out of any of the junglers, because usually when you see that switch, you see that early gank happening. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit harder to gank, but Shen, I mean, he was easily susceptible to that gank.
Yeah, and while you say that, at the same time, Shen has a ward by the entrance up towards it. Yeah. But on the other side, there is no such thing. That ward is not down for Spontex, which is almost a freebie, as we are going to see Maluno here heading into this middle lane. He's going to land the bandage toss. The knockup comes in on Bjergsen. He will be forced to flash. Will actually bind Maluno in there, who will take 2 hits from that turret. Does get away, but in the same time, Copenhagen Wolves have picked up the first turret of the game to go along with that first blood after 5 minutes.
And Wolves, they have to be really careful here in terms of what they're going to do, because they have that very strong early game, but they have that problem of making it happen, or making the game progress in their way further on to kind of take that advantage and use it. So if they take that top turret, they must have something else in mind here, as a pretty strong team, very bursty team, especially with Cho'Gath with that Nom. But the bot lane, Dragonborns are just seeing to take this turret down and pretty much even it out.
Yeah, in terms of gold, it's only a couple of 100 difference currently between the two sides. If you look at the early items there, double Doran's Blade already picked up for Jarvan. The 2 AD carries actually went for those Doran Blades at the start as well. I mean, neither of them got a natural heal in those lanes, but to be honest, when they're in a 2v1, they can go for that extra damage, the extra health, and that on-hit heal going to be helping them as well. What do we have on the other side? Seeker's Arm Guard, which is just a natural pickup for Lux in this middle lane. That extra armor going to help out so much against Jarvan.
Yeah, very true. And we've also seen Akali's doing that lately as well. That new item being brought out with 3.0.1, I believe.
Such a great item, in my opinion. For it opens up the fact that you don't need Bruiser versus Bruiser there anymore.
And it makes it so you can have a stronger early game, because you don't have to turn that into a zone. Yeah. It's still a very strong item. Obviously, you don't want to go for that as a first major item unless you're maybe Morgana, but it's going to help keep him in lane, just seeing right there. I mean, not taking much damage at all from Xuxe, which is obviously very needed. I'm kind of surprised not to see a Brutalizer coming out of Xuxe just yet. It would help with that extra penetration of the armor being picked up, because Bjergsen's 62, and sorry, I can't see the percent, but 76 actually with that shield up. And I mean, so far Copenhagen Wolves, they're looking pretty strong, but the gold, it's pretty much dead even.
Yeah, really close stuff. And look at this, Copenhagen Wolves headed down towards Dragon. We have got a couple of pings. Jarvan is coming down. Xin Zhao is nowhere near. Obviously, no teleports in the game whatsoever, so you can count that completely out of the equation. Bjergsen joining in there as well. All 5 men from Copenhagen Wolves looking for this Dragon move. It's going to be looking to steal away here where the glitter lands. Doesn't work out for them, and it is in fact picked up by Copenhagen Wolves, and again, they're looking very strong. We commented before that their lane phases have been generally good. It's later on in the game where they've had troubles as Bjergsen here going to get caught up in the Cataclysm. He used his flash earlier, doesn't have it available, but Shushi's under the tower. He does manage somehow right at the end to take down Bjergsen, but he did die himself.
And that just shows the mastery of Bjergsen on that Lux, because he waited till he was under that turret to snare him just so he'd take that extra damage. And Joe, going back to what you're saying about the Wolves and having that very strong early game, the transition they just pulled it there was so perfect. They had the AD carry and support take that top turret, then they knew they wanted to go for Dragon right after, so they called them down and picked it up, and they really are looking like a completely different team at this point compared to yesterday.
And you see here Maluno in that middle lane, can't really afford to go in on Svenskeren and Godbro, who are both there. He is still pretty tanky with just that Spirit Stone in from the start. He's going to try and pressure Svenskeren away from it a little bit, but you can see that he's definitely not going to be able to challenge if anyone else comes into that equation. So let's have a look at the items here. You can see Giant's belts being picked up for both Xin Zhao and Shen up until now. Both got boots. We do have that red elixir plus the Doran's blade in there as well for Xin Zhao. On the other side, the AD carries double Doran's plus the Berserker Greaves for Varus, Vamp Scepter, Doran's blade, and the boots, level 1 boots at that, for Caitlyn.
And the test currently sitting on about 1,200 gold at this point, so when he does back, he's going to easily catch up in terms of that. But looking at the game later on, is it's going to progress a little bit more. The team fight capability of both teams here. We have such a strong initiate out of Dragonborns. If you see it, maybe Shreya's come out. They have a moon to come in with the ultimate. They have the flag knock-up with Shushe. They even have the Cataclysm to follow up. We even have Spawn Text with the separation if they do need. So they can pretty much hop on the Wolves pretty damn easily. And it's up to pretty much Svenskeren and Godbro to keep their carries alive. But if Wolves just catch one person, that's somewhat squishy, and they take him out, they have a 5-on-4 advantage, and they can easily push with that and engage.
Well, again, I mean, Dragonborns have the likes of Jarvan and Xin Zhao in there who can really lock down one champion as well if they manage to get in there.
The knockups.
Not quite as heavy as what we saw in that last game from them, which really was an all-or-nothing comp. But this is certainly similar in that respect. The CS totals, which you've not really touched on here, 66 to 53 in the middle. Jarvan advantage. Bottom lane is pretty much bang on even between those two AD carries of Shushe here. Going to get binded up, but you can see hardly even touches him. With that Seeker's Arm Guard, the tier in there for Bjergsen, he's not got much damage coming out, and to be honest, Jarvan with that double Doran's blade in there, plus the Merc Treads as well for that extra magic, it's just not enough to really dent him.
Yeah, they're really going to need that Black Cleaver to pretty much work with their entire composition. And one thing I forgot to mention was Hosan's Varus. His ultimate is going to have so much time to trail through the enemy team. It's really going to come down to if he can land that, which it's kind of hard to miss at that point when you have the Mumu ulti happening as well. So Copenhagen Wolves are going to be locked down for quite a while. We might need to see them build a little bit taken, unless they're the ones to be the aggressor and get that engage.
Second Giant's belt added in there for Copenhagen Wolves, this time coming over for Cho'Gath. As Godbro just pushing now. He's actually 10 CS behind the Sin, who's, his tower's down. He's had that bit of extra time as the waves have been pushed up against him. But really, aside from the action that we've had in that middle lane there, there's not been too much to write home about in this one. Both teams playing cautious. Dragonborn still fairly early into their campaign. If you compare that over with Wolves, obviously they've played 3 games, Dragonborns. Wolves already played 7. They're still, as we keep harping on about, but that is the real story for Wolves right now, looking for their first victory of the season.
Yeah, that would actually be, it'd be very great for them for their motivation as well, because they'd have to be so down from it. We do see actually Shushe going in on Bjergsen, but like you're saying before, that Seeker's Arm Guard just gave him so much armor that Shushe really can't penetrate it at this point.
Yeah, got plenty of protection from any pressure that Shushe can put in. He's going to go over, be taking his Wraiths at this point as well, just trying to gain that level and CS advantage. When I say gain, more extend, of course it is at this point. Both players are up now towards, past that level 6, obviously we saw that earlier. The Cataclysm coming down to Bjergsen, so we'll see where this next action is going to be coming down. Dragon is up in 1.5 minutes, so that's could very well be the next time that we see some action between these two teams.
Yeah, I'd love to see Spontex push that top lane just in preparation for that, because we do have Luna with his flash, with his ultimate up. They could have Dragonborn's first major engage. If they let the Wolves pick up this dragon, then they're really kind of going to be in trouble because they're going to have so much more gold to burst someone down. And that, like we're saying before, that is the real test if Dragonborns can survive that. So do have Shushay going in on the mid lane.
Wow, that was really ballsy. Actually, he's going to get knocked up here. Laser's going to come through. Can they finish? There's the gnome. And Mumu comes into the split second. It's... Whoa! What a flash from Maluno. Ace in the hole coming in from the side. He flashes over and blocks it. And that has just saved them a man. But at what cost here? They're going to lose that the outer middle turret.
He must be a paramedic because he just saved his life twice right there. That was such a great... yeah, that was pretty stupid. It was such a great play, though, because he got that ultimate down. He ended up saving, as I could see everyone laughing about that one. But yeah, that was a great play. The flash, unfortunately, it's going to be down as well as his ultimate. So this Dragon, they're going to have a hard time taking it away if they wanted to. But overall, Maluno just pretty much showing he deserves that spot on that team right there.
Well, he'd take a bullet for his teammate any day, and that's what...
He's a bodyguard.
It is the bodyguard. So... Dragon coming up here in 12 seconds. Copenhagen Wolves have vision of Maluno's position, so they know exactly where he was waiting. But again, this whole thing that Crepo really talked about earlier on, the zoning power that you can have in this situation. Dragon will just go, right then, if you're going to be camping at Dragon until it spawns, we're going to start pushing middle, you're going to have to come back, and then guess who's going to have positional advantage to go back in for that Dragon afterwards?
Exactly, because their mid turret's down, so why not kind of go for that? Because you can be in the Dragon pit area right now, but what can Copenhagen Wolves do against that? They're going to be overextended really far and might
they
actually
just
get
gave
caught
it
off
up
guard.
now.
Yep.
They just quite willingly just went straight out of there for that one.
The thing is, Dragonborns can't afford to fight at this point. With that Moom ulti being down, all they can really do is when they see Copenhagen Wolves go for the Dragon, just push the mid yet again, and it really forces the Wolves to react to it. But the top lane still being pushed up right now, and it's going to force Godbro to head up towards that top side, but then again, he has that ultimate to get down, but he will be spotted by that ward going up there. So Dragonborns have that little bit of informational advantage, but not really going to be able to do anything off of that.
Yeah, I mean, they probably could do it right now, to be honest with you, knowing that Godbro is going to be walking up top and he's going to keep going that direction until he's called back down. Obviously, the wards down in that bottom side will give vision to Copenhagen Wolves. I like the fact that after they took that middle turret, that middle outer turret down as well, they put a ward down in around that turret area. So they've got vision, even if their minions aren't pushed up that far. Dragon is going to be started off by the Wolves. There's a ward around the corner there, so not sure if Copenhagen Wolves even going to notice that one. They don't have a pink ward at all, in fact, to put down anyway, so somewhat of a moot point. Dragon boards hanging around. We've got Jarvan up on the top side of that lower river. Varus is there. Zinshao actually coming in from the bottom side as well, and just the presence of Dragonborns here seemed to have forced them away.
Yeah, it was a really good job by Maluno and move it right there, just to stick around, just to say, hey, if you're going to go for that Dragon, we might engage upon you. They didn't know Shushay was getting his own blue buff, and they already get this mid turret off of that. And one thing I wanted to point out was that since Dragonborns took the first blue away from Copenhagen Wolves, if they could have taken the second one and denied that away from Bjergsen, there's really... it's really easy to have a really hard time at doing any damage, any kind of poke. And not to mention that ultimate, which is really crucial if you can keep that cooldown low.
Yeah, so Dragonborns now are almost forced because Shen is pushing hard in this top lane, so they really need to get something from this, as we are going to see Varus hit the ultimate, but he's alone in that one. Shen going to come down. Mover actually getting rooted up here, will be forced to flash away as the Strangled Thorns go down. There's the Amumu and the Cataclysm coming out. Let's see what they can do to finish off. The test will be picked off by Hosen. Svenskeren completely alone as he noms down on Lulu for the kill, and that will be a 3-for-1 with Hosan picking up the double.
And not to mention they got Dragon on top of that, so they just got a lot of gold from that, and that's the strength of their team. They can lock them down and kill the squishies so easily. As long as they can keep pulling that off, they're going to have pretty much an easy win, I have to say. Unless Copenhagen Wolves picks up a couple of kills and can get back in this. But now pushing the second mid turret, only Godbro's there to really hold on to it as he does taunt Spontex, but that turret will go down.
I think he was a bit sloppy as well from Copenhagen Wolves. The way that they came back towards that Dragon was just like, I want to call it half-hearted, you know? They didn't come in as a team. They were in there. One guy's like, okay, I got caught out. One came to help him then, and he ends up dying as well. The rest of the team were like, well, I'm not getting involved. I'm off. I'm not dying. So it was just not really well coordinated there by Copenhagen Wolves. Obviously, they did push this top lane out, but unfortunately didn't get the tower for it. So if we look at the gold, they are 2,300 behind right now. The individual scores, just to go through them, almost 1,000 between the AD carries in favor, of course, of Varus, and actually 5.6 to 4.7 between the two in the middle there as well. Similar kind of story overall.
And the Wolves, after that fight, knowing they really can't go head-to-head against Dragonborns, they have to get that pick. they're going to just have to farm up right now because they don't really have the damage just yet.
Svenskeren just thinking that the golem there would die from his red buff as it resets and walks back into his camp.
But Bjergsen doesn't have much AP at this point. He hasn't really been able to build any items at 95 at this point. That tier is still stacking up. He luckily has his blue buff. The test obviously not going to be doing too much damage till a little bit later on until he gets that Infinity's Edge or that Phantom Dancer or even Static Shiv, to be honest. And then the Last Whisper on top of that. So it's pretty much in Dragonborn's hands right now if they want to keep engaging, forcing these fights, which they honestly should. They should group up. Because they have Spawntex, who has a Warmogs already. We have a Sunfire kit coming on Maluna very soon. And Shusha has a Phage to help, keep that control in these fights.
Yeah, I think this is a real strong point of the game now for Dragonborns, where they'll be looking to make a little bit more happen. Hosank going to be given over the red buff. As we said, both AD carries with the Bloodthirster, just that pickaxe separating them at this point in terms of their build, plus an extra Doran's Blade as well on that, on the... So what else do we have? Warmog's finished for Xin Zhao. Over on the other side, Sunfire Cape for Shen. Obviously going to help him a lot in his pushing, as he will just shadow dash away. Doesn't even want to get involved with that Xin Zhao. But, the gold is still pretty even here. Round about the 300 mark. 3,500. Wow, Joe, come on, get counting. 3,500 mark. I was like, wow, that is really close. But of course, I did mean thousands. And either way, Dragonborn's going to be pushing this top outer turret. And they've got Hosank coming in there as well. And there's absolutely nothing that Copenhagen Wolves can do about it.
I believe that's the third unanswered turret at this point for Dragonborns to pick up. We do have the test in the bottom and trying to go for that. But, going on, actually just talking about... we'll stick for that for a little bit later as Dragonborns still being aggressive on this top lane, keeping the 4 men up there for the push as the 5th does join in. And they do get the initiate with Varus.
Yeah, this could be very, very bad for Copenhagen Wolves. Nice knock-up coming out of Cho'Gath. That tower already down to half HP as the test has taken down the bottom outer turret. But this one is going to fall. The question is now how far a Dragonborn's going to go and how far is the test going to go. He is still hammering away in this bottom lane. He's going to have another creep coming up here shortly with him, but he's going to take it down to at least half health, if not even further, before Varus can actually answer this one. The rest of Dragonborns have backed away completely in this top lane. The test really wants to get this one down. One more hit and he will do it, and that is 2 turrets from the test in this bottom lane. That is great work.
Yeah, that really was. Just pretty much giving them a little bit of a saving grace with that gold. Going back to item just real quick, as we're talking about Deficio, in that last major team fight we saw a Dragon, he got destroyed pretty much instantly by the team of Dragonborn. So he picked up a little bit more health, a Doran shield as well, just to kind of survive in these fights. And he's going to have to, he has to soak up a lot of damage for his team to allow them to pick up, just to get someone down, because they don't have the burst at this point. So they have to go for some sort of sustained damage unless Bjergsen can, I guess, catch a mover and prevent that Lulu ultimate from coming out.
So where's the next action going to be coming down, Jason, in this one? We have, just a 2,000 gold lead. Really not that much gold at this point. 5-4 in turrets in favor of Dragonborns there. For me, looking the stronger team right now, if it really comes down to it, that combination that they've got really worked well for them up to this point. But what's the plan of attack for the Wolves?
I think it's bot lane. I think Dragonborns are for Wolves or for Dragonborns?
For Wolves,
anyone, okay.
For both.
Well, for Dragonborns, I think they're going to make a play on the bot lane. They have the ability to dive under these turrets. The Wolves, they need some sort of break. They need to keep a lot of wards in their own jungle. They need to clear out the wards as well from the enemy team. As you see on the top side, Dragonborns just has complete vision there. They need to take that out and kind of create an opportunity in the jungle. But then again, we have the Dragonborns getting so tanky that I'm really looking at it. I'm just like, who can they potentially burst down? And do they have the damage at this point? And I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I don't think that Bjergsen, a full combo from him, maybe he's bought one item since I really last checked there, but I don't think he's got a blasting wand and a haunting guys now, which may change things a little bit, but I think unless he hits the Lulu and maybe the Varus, that he's really going to get a break from that side.
And then you have the pseudo-tankiness from the Lulu ultimate, so if you don't get him down quick enough, it's not going to matter anyways in the end. But we do have Dragon coming back up in 2 seconds as Dragonborns going to stick around and pick this one. And the gold lead, it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for, Joe? What's the word?
Increased?
I was going to say the opposite of that. Decreased. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
And then as they get it right back up with that Dragon.
Well, Dragon has been taken down now. Its size has been decreased to 0, Jason. A team kill for Dragonborns as well, by the way. Forget that one in there. The Jarvan actually going to go in here into the middle. Cataclysm down on Bjergsen. He's going to get Stan United. Actually will flash away. Jarvan will get away from the ultimate of Zyra, but will that be enough? Here we go with Mumu going down in there as well. He's got a wild growth on him, but where's the damage? Where's the focus? The Tess is being hammered on by Spontex, who will pick up that kill. That's a 2-for-1. There comes the ultimate hour of Varus Svensker and going to be locked down and finished off by Hosan. But can they get any more? Spontex is not very healthy, but he's certainly not backing off. He flashed in there, getting maybe a little bit too big for his boots, and in the end, he will have to back off. But a 3-for-1 again, coming out nicely for Dragonborns. Shushi, obviously the real starter of that whole thing. He died for the pleasure, but 3-for-1 you'd take any day.
Yeah, I mean, I think Spontex was the big MVP of that fight, just because he went into the backline onto the Tess.
Even though he ulted everyone out of the Amumu ulti.
Well, I mean, the thing was is that he went into the backline and he stuck to the Tess. And from that, we had Bjergsen and Svenskjærsen have to stick with him just to protect him, and yet they couldn't do that in the end. So he soaked up a lot of damage. He forced their attention onto him, and it allowed Hosan just to go to town on the Wolves.
So, Wraith's here for Hosan. He's got that crit cloak in now with the pickaxe, so getting himself up towards that infinity edge. On the other side, Lux not having anything else after that on the Warden's Mail, picked up by Shen. Warmog's done for Cho'Gath. Sunfire Cape on Amumu as well. And there is the Chalice being picked up by Lulu on the other side as well. Zeal also added in for Jarvan, so going full-out Terror Jarvan here.
Yeah, we're going to see that Trinity Force come out, which we saw actually with Shushay going, him as well, going that on his Vi, so he really likes that item. And looking at Defeater, it looks like he's going for potentially Shurelya's, because they need that kind of speed. The Test needs some sort of help, as we saw in that completely in the last fight, to just escape, just to stay alive. He can't go head-to-head against anyone on the Dragonborn so far. And it's really going to commit a lot of resources to just protect him.
So, Dragon obviously taken down a little bit earlier on. We can see the ward positioning now. Bottom side of the jungle completely being controlled by Dragonborns. They've got one ward, aside from the one in the bottom left that just timed out, but one ward in each crucial position to have complete vision of any movement inside of that jungle. And obviously with that next dragon coming up, that's going to be crucial as well. Pink ward there put down by Movit will give them control, and a second one actually as well, of this barren area and the pit itself. So they've got complete vision, nothing that Copenhagen Wolves can see at this stage. The question is whether Dragonborns will actually risk going in for that, or whether they're going to set up some kind of trap, because once those wards go down, it's fairly common to see the support come straight back in there and try and put some down afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, looking for the Wolves, though, they have that Lux ultimate to potentially steal or at least give sight, and it's when it's on such a low cooldown, it doesn't matter in the end. And I'm really surprised at how kind of passive Dragonborns is being, because in every single team fight, they've won it in a landslide, and yet they're kind of being hesitant to force these fights.
Well, Deficio has got that Oracle on now. You saw the Rupture was put down by Svensker, and that forced Dragonborn to actually get out of the ambush position. Good news overall for Copenhagen Wolves. The Shen here on this bottom side is actually going to get caught out by Hosan. The question is, can he get away here with that Stan United on? Yes, he will, but that's could be a vital ultimate depending on what they go for next here, Dragonborns, not having Shen been able to teleport himself around the map.
And it really gives Dragonborns that security, knowing he won't be split pushing because he doesn't have that up anymore. He can't join a fight if they do want to go for one. So that should be a key for Dragonborns to potentially go for Baron, because you know Shen's going to be there. You know you can win in this in these fights. And we have a Blade of the Rune King picked up for Spontex, and actually it was buffed a little bit in this patch. It was balanced, I guess, if we use the word Quickshot said. It does more % damage and also gives you more attack damage. So it's going to will pretty much help quite a bit, especially if he gets a little bit of attack speed. And no one squishy is going to survive against that.
Yeah, also, as time corrected there from Varus, actually went in for that Phantom Dancer and left the last Whisper, the pickaxe maybe for that last Whisper a little bit later on. Deficio here finally clearing out the vision that was all set up by Dragonborns on this top side, but they'll say, well, you know, you take that ward down there. We're actually on Baron right now, so they're going to start this Baron off. Can Copenhagen Wolves do something? I mean, Cho'Gath a prime target if his nom was up. He's actually on cooldown right now. He does have Smite available, so does have that for a potential steal. And we can see that Dragonborns, as they notice Copenhagen Wolves starting to amass, they are kind of half backing off and half doing the Baron still. It went very, very low there, but they just didn't want to have that risk of continuing to take it.
It was actually a great job by Dragonborn, especially Shusha. He just kind of waited on the sidelines until that ward was taken out, so he didn't want to show himself like they were actually going to go for it. But you cannot go against not try to take a Baron when you have Sven Skersen on Cho'Gath with that 1,000 damage from his feast, and then you have Bjergsen with that ultimate on top of that. That's so much burst, it's really hard to smite that, and there's no point in giving away such a crucial buff at this point in the game.
So Dragonborn's taking up position once again. That pink ward going to be timed out here soon, but they are starting it off. Yeah, that ward is going to be taken out. Baron now down to half HP. The question is, are they going to be able to get over? The Nom is now available for Svenskeren. 8 seconds for the Dragon to come up, but that's certainly not the focus at this point. As we see again, Dragonborn's backed away and then went straight back in. Copenhagen Wolves just pushing that middle lane out. And that will force Dragonborns to actually come back in and force it back on their side of things. And maybe say, well, Baron's just too much stress for us right now. Let's go and have a Dragon.
Yeah, they're kind of giving Wolves a chance to get back in the game when they could just force these fights. Every time they go for that Baron, they end up dropping down about half health. As Maluno is finally regenning it back. Shusha as well. But they're really just allowing the Wolves to farm up and get the burst. They're going to need the damage they need. Bjergsen almost has his death cap done. As you do see an engage out of Spontex.
Yeah, they're going to go in here with Spontex onto Svenskeren. Obviously, the tankiest in that lineup. Oh, the Cataclysm flashed away from. The question is, though, with those flashes down, will he be able to follow in? Chain of Corruption will land onto Bjergsen. He puts the laser down, and Mumu ulti comes in. Spontex going to get knocked up. Test doing his best to force them away, but Spontex dives on him again, uses the flash, gets the knockup. Is saved there by the Rupture and the Stan United coming out of Shen. He's going to throw down the ace in the hole, caught by Hosan, and only the 1 kill results in this one. But will it allow them to take this inhibitor turret? They're decently healthy still. Hosan obviously at full HP, and you can see how fast they're able to get rid of that turret, not wanting to risk that inhibitor turret, and they may well just back off here and say, well, this is the time for that Baron.
That's still...
or not.
or not. But Wolves, though, that was actually a really good fight for them. They got 1 for 1, obviously, but, or sorry, it wasn't 1 for 1. They didn't get anyone. But the thing was that it was a very close fight in the end. We had 3 members of Dragonborns very low on health. It shows the Wolves, and it gives them some confidence that they can win these fights if they just pull off everything in the correct order. We do have an Oracle picked up on Deficio, so he's trying to give him that sight back up, or at least clear the vision onto Baron. But Sven Skersen doesn't have that flash available anymore, has the Feast again, as he just uses it right there, and that kind of could be a sign of Dragonborn saying that, hey, we could probably take this Baron since he can't flash over that wall and try to steal it away.
Well, let's see. We have that last Whisper now done with Varus. A BF sword added in for Jarvan as well. He's solid.
The Mikhail's Crucible actually was picked up on Mover, which is going to be a really interesting item because as long as Hosan doesn't get comboed by Bjergsen, they're not going to kill him. So if he frees him after that light binding, they're not going to be able to lock him down unless they land a Rupture or a Taunt right after that, or a Grasping Root. So great pickup by him.
But he's got to be quick as well because, you know, the combo that can come out of a Lux play is all in one go. So we'll see how quick he is on the finger there with that one. Either way, Baron started out here by Dragonborns, already below half HP. As you said, Svenskeren did use that Nom a little bit earlier on as he is going to throw in the Feral Scream, but that won't do enough damage as they actually catch him here at the end. There was the 90 caliber net from the test to get away from it, so only locking up Svenskeren, who's super tanky. Zyra going to put down the ultimate defensively, and also we saw Shusha Cataclysm over to old Bjergsen. He actually used his flash to get away from that one, and in the end, no kills coming down for Dragonborns, but they've got that all-important buff.
That's been kind of the story of Shusha, of what he's been doing. The Cataclysm's been forcing flashes out of the Wolves, and every time that happens, it's like, hey, Maluno, you have a free ultimate as well as Spontex to get it in there and just pretty much catch them. So if he's not hitting a lot of people, it doesn't matter in the end because he's burning those flashes, but we do have the inhibitor being taken down right now, and Copenhagen Wolves, I don't think they can really fight this.
I think they've still got to be careful here, though, Dragonborns. Obviously, the Final Spark, I still want to call it the German name, coming in. That's got a very short cooldown at this point. Going to be doing good amounts of damage. And when they get those bindings down as well, easy combo to make, because that inhibitor is going to be picked off. Dragonborns happy with what they've achieved for now. And they're approaching a 10,000 gold lead. They're 6-4 in turrets, 8-4 in kills in the lead. And they're going to go home and spend some of that cash that they've amassed.
Yeah, and the other thing is, what can they really pick up at this point? Because they're so powerful. I mean, they have all their core items. They don't really need to farm up anymore. They can just keep forcing these fights. With that middle inhibitor being down, it forces Copenhagen Wolves to react to it. It forces them to pretty much concede any outer turrets, which, you know, the bot lane's the only one left. And it allows Dragonborns to just stall this game out, or at least get a lot of chip onto another inhibitor turret if they want to go for that, in fact. But the Tess, he's starting to get really strong. He has Last Whisper done now, so he actually can pretty much not fully 1v1, but he can survive a lot better and do a lot more damage and maybe force anyone that engages upon him, maybe spawn text to back away.
Sanya being given over that red buff. See how quickly he's taking that down now, and he's going to go and spend his loot from earlier. Got those home guard boots. Actually got around about 1,600 gold to spend this time around, which obviously going to be a bit more once he's sold that Doran's blade, and he picks up, as you'd probably expect, a BF sword.
Wait, did
for
he
even
sell
more
it?
damage.
On accident?
No.
Oh, okay. I saw the thing
It comes up twice when someone else buys pretty much the same time. I think it was the Runic Bulwark that they bought at the same time.
Gonna say that might have been a little bit of a misclick. But yeah, looking at Copenhagen Wolves, they're gonna accept all this free farm that comes through that mid lane, and even the top and bottom, because minions do get stronger as an inhibitor does go down. But they are starting to head towards this bottom side. Dragonborns might be making a play on this turret, which, you know, down at half health, Copenhagen Wolves can't really defend it.
Yep, they've just actually pinged up towards the top of that lane. They've seen the positions, and well, not much that turret's going to be able to do to stop them. The rest of the team, obviously, from Copenhagen Wolves, not wanting to get too involved with that one, but these waves of minions coming out of the Wolves base just do not last very long. Oracle on Mover to even further restrict the limited vision that Copenhagen Wolves have already got with every single inner turret down. As we see Bjergsen getting locked up, they're going to go in for it. Jarvan right in on top of him. Stan United going to come down. Laser comes out there as well, as Luck's going to be destroyed here by Varus. Godbro falling low, has to flash away, but Hosan's not done yet. He keeps going through as he gets hit by the knock-up. Now he focuses on towards Svenskeren. He will have to flash as well. Can't quite get on the fountain. Hosan dominating. Deficio dove on the fountain. Hosan does not care. He will actually die there in the end. It's Zyra who's credited the kills, but they've got 4 kills from that one. The first turret going to go down. The second Nexus turret here going as well, as Amumu will fall to the test. Dragonborn's not going to finish the game just yet. They want more kills. Shushay picks that one up. There is the very much delayed ace, and Dragonborn's going to make Copenhagen Wolves continue their miserable run of results at 0 for 8 with a nice, comfortable victory here. And 13-6 in the end, but no job done there, I think. You can see Hosan, who went into the fountain there for his kills at the end, never happy with what he's got on the scoreboard.
And Wolves, they had that strong early lead, but Dragonborn's coming back for that, pretty much using that team fight to their advantage, and they have to feel pretty good. Now I believe they're 2-2 in LCS so far.
Yes, 2-2. Not a bad start for them. You can see Spontex very excited about how that game went down, and why not? He's just picked up another win here. Obviously, that's it for us for now here on the Caster Desk. We're going to throw it over to Demon, Quick Shot, and of course, Crepo to break it all down.
Yes, thank you very much, Joe. And well, there it is. It's 0-8, unfortunately, for the Copenhagen Wolves. And that does mean Dragonborns pick themselves up a victory that, honestly, Hosan on the desk yesterday was just like, I don't get really what happens, but we don't want to lose that game. Nobody wants to lose now. And now it's becoming a thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, nobody wants to be the first team to give them a win.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's, what, 12 games next Friday, so there's a possibility that it could happen, and the mental degradation over that day. We'll get to that in a moment, though, because let's take us through what actually happened. Really, the key moment was the Dragon fight.
Yeah, I just want to point out one thing about the lineups. I think, actually, Copenhagen Wolves outpicked Dragonborns, because they're playing the same style again. They're playing this, like, very, very, like, Zerg-heavy, all-in type of play, and Wolves had all the counters for it. You're gonna walk into me, Shenton, Rupture, Silence, Lux Snare, Lux E, Lux Laser, all line missile skill shot, Zyra E, Zyra R, Kaelin just at the back placing the traps, 90 caliber net. Like, they had all the tools to deal with Dragonborns. You could see that in the game at one point. Dragonborns ran out of towers to kill. They can't push the base. They can't, because there's so much wave clear and so much snares that they can't get in. So they decided to go for Nashor. And eventually they got it, and then they actually caught Wolves out of their base, and that was the key point as well, because if you get caught out of your base, you're not defending anything, and you just get caught, and then you give up and hit for free, and that's basically what gave the game to Dragonborns. Also, the key moment was then the Dragon fight we're about to show.
Before we jump into this Dragon fight right now, you're talking about the team composition and how they had the ability to defend, to hold off against the Dragonborns. how could they have actually played it a little differently? Because truthfully, the Wolves are almost always caught out. You know, you've seen Shushay diving in, you've seen Spontex diving in, 1 versus 4, 1 versus 3, and you know, the Wolves were never really grouped up together to get the best out of those tools.
Yeah, you definitely need to stay grouped, and you need to know what zone power you have and what zone power they have, and you need to stay out of their zone and just use a long-range skill shots. I also just want to point out one more thing about the lane swap they did at the start. Like, the Wolves did their research. Like, they knew Dragonborns would leave their flank open and they got invaded, and first blood on the blue buff. They picked Shen, amazing 1v2, then they picked the Caitlyn Zyra, pushed down the top turret incredibly quick, which then shifted them towards bottom, ready for the Drake. So their early game was absolutely splendid. Their preparation as well, they just lost it mid-game.
Well, let's jump into the actual Dragon fight, which cost them potentially the game, because from here things start to snowball. We're in about 15 minutes on the clock. I've got the minimap up just to display where everybody is. Crepo, talk us through the positioning and what went wrong here.
Basically, what actually went wrong was what happened the minute before this. They had Shen split pushing at top, like you can see, and he has some pressure now. But before that, they didn't have any pressure, which means when Wolves went for the initial Drake, Wolves was the initial team to go for Drake, but they didn't have Shen any pressure. So what Dragonborns did was just push them out, and then again the whole mid lane zoning thing comes into effect again, because Dragonborns just went mid, took the mid tower, and then went into Drake. And now this is where we're at. Dragonborns is at the Drake. There's a possible counterplay though, because they're all in this very, very tiny spot, and Wolves can just come in and clean up. So they're trying to contest it now.
Yep, so the fight breaks out, and you were pointing out some plays.
Yeah, a little further. If you go a little further, they're going to try and engage now. This is it. Pause. If we see this, the Shen ult is about to land. Zyra is right in front of them. They're hesitating though. They want to all in them, and then they don't. And this is the hesitation and the lack of a clear call that probably costs them the fight. Because if the Zyra now flashes in, snares them, and put their R down, and at the same time Shen lands, they will completely annihilate Dragonborns with AoE effects. Problem is, they hesitate a slight second. Zyra doesn't flash, Shen lands, he will miss the taunt on, as you can see, like Movert gets away, they get out of the pit, they're no longer confined. The Zyra ulti, too slow, like they run out of it and then they get zerged by this all-in heavy comp from Dragonborns. The test completely caught off guard. Bjergsen is trying to kite the Jarvan, but it's too late. The second they let them out of the pit, hell broke loose.
So they lost the power, and it was just that momentary hesitation, not making the all-in call.
Do you think that was because the Dragon had just gone down? So they're like, it's a case of should we even bother engaging? Should we just back off and then just go? And that's just simply someone not making the calls right.
Yeah, it's a different approach. Like some people are like, why are we there? Are we there to fight or to contest the Dragon? Yeah. Probably part of the players were like, the Dragon's down. There's no objective to contest. Let's back off. And the other guys are like, no, like you can go in and kill them. You saw that the Shen ulti landed without Zyra taking damage, but he was like, go in. And just a hesitation, and it's really interesting in League of Legends that the same play, the same call, the same like motion, 1 second too late can cost you an entire team fight and thus an entire game. So it
can snowball it so heavily, which is what happened.
How much of a negative effect would the chain of corruption from Varus have made right at the beginning of that particular play? Because he threw it out onto Zyra, and you know that could have been the question. Oh, they're going to turn and dive on us. Do you think that could have made them be a little bit hesitant? You know, that's where the doubt comes in.
Yeah, but actually that was a good idea by Hosan for throwing that out. But then again, he just wasted his AoE snare for no reason. It faded out, and then they still could have engaged. So he actually did it a little early. But it's really hard for Wolves to read that properly. You need to read that in 1 second, and I'm not blaming them for it.
And if that was, say, Evo Geniuses, yourself, would you make the call there? Would you say, I can see an opportunity, therefore would go in? Because, I mean, technically Wicked would have already been using his ulti because the Shen was already coming in. So somebody had already said, okay, let's fight. Yeah. And you got, I can see an opportunity, gone.
I think the biggest difference would be that we would never, like, I won't say never, but we're more aware of our mid lane being exposed. So we wouldn't have gone for that Dragon until top lane Shen actually had pressure. Because you're split pushing, you send Shen top, just wait. You wait in your mid lane till Shen actually is at their tower, and then they have to send somebody top to Shen. And then you can go for whatever objective you want. Make it a 4v5. 4v5, and you drag him away. You just basically tell them what you want. And it was the right idea to split push Shen and go for the Drake. I completely agree, but it was at the wrong time.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get over to the main stage, of course, because Shox is going to be standing by with a member of the Dragonborns.
Thank you. I'm here with Spontex. Spontex, at qualifiers, you said, I'm the beast, I never die. And yet you gave up first blood.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm doing the worst with my team, and then I'm going for the blood. So, but sadly, I faced check, and I died. Like, I was okay, I died, but then I will not die again. So I tried and I succeeded. So
yeah, nevertheless, a good game from you. How was it personally going up against that Shen?
Against Shen, I was like, okay, I'm playing Xin, so I can farm, he can farm. That's a boring matchup, but Xin is stronger in teamfight than Shen, so... And then I just had to build the Blade of the Rune King, and the Shen will just disappear by it. So Xin was better, in my opinion.
Okay, you were up against the Wolves, which they were 0-7. Yeah. Did you underestimate them? Because it was not an easy game, by any means.
No, I never underestimate my opponent again, because we lost against the AA and the qualifiers, so I just tell me to myself, okay, I play, I try out, and I will just improve myself over and over. So that's why I'm there, and I'm trying to do the best every game. So against Wolves, we lost against Giants, a good team. They deserve it. So I was, okay, we play against Wolves. It's still a good team because they're in the qualifier. So even if they're 0-7, I'm going to do everything I have to.
Okay. Talk to Soaz earlier, who ranked himself and Wicked as the top laners in EU. Where do you rank yourself?
Oh, I don't really know because I didn't play that much against every top laner. But maybe the third, second, I don't know. I maybe overestimate myself, but I'm going to see on the qualifier.
Absolutely.
LCS.
Not the qualifier.
On the LCS, yes.
So, final question. How are you doing here in the LCS? How are you dealing with the experience of dealing with the fans here, living situation?
Well, I'm pretty fine. This is a good experience for me. Like 2 months ago, I was like a random player playing on solo queue on League of Legends, and then someone told me, hey, you want to join a team? I was, why not? And I'm here. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you. Fairy Tale here for Spontex. We're going to take a short break in just a second, but don't forget today's Twitter question. Which player has impressed you the most in the LCS so far and why? I bet Spontex would answer Spontex for that, but you can tweet out answers and questions for Crepo, of course, to LOL eSports at LOL eSports, #LCS. One final break, and after this break, we'll be back with our last matchup of the day, where the Giants take on Against All Authority. Don't click that mouse.